Alright, are we recording? We are recording. Dope. Hello, what's up, fellas? I went to therapy. That's what we're gonna start up with, like, cold open. Bam, I went to therapy. I didn't want to clickbait it. I wanted to clickbait the topic that I talked about with the therapist, which was high expectations. But basically, first thing I wanted to point out and that I wanted to get out of the way is that I want to encourage people that doubt whether they should go or not. Because they think, well, maybe it's just, maybe my problem that I have in mind is not important enough to go to therapy. I would like to change your view and say that it is not necessarily true that if you go to therapy, you have big problems. You don't have to have, like, severe mental health issues or a very bad life situation to have to go to therapy. You know, it could be something in your life that you're struggling with constantly. And a struggle doesn't have to look like an emotional struggle or a very heavy struggle. A struggle can also be something keeps happening in your life over and over again, and you don't understand why it's happening. And well, that was something that happened to me. In my very specific case, I felt insecure a lot. But, on the other hand, I didn't understand why, and I'd say on paper, if you looked at my my way of looking at the world and my point of view, I didn't get it, because a lot of the time I wouldn't feel insecure. I would feel very, I guess the best word I can find for it is extroverted. When I was around people, I would feel very confident, I would feel very chill around people, because at the end of the day, let's be honest, that's what it's like for me. Confidence is something you measure against other people. Because when I'm alone in my room and I'm doing my thing, there is not a single cell in my body that is not confident. Because I'm doing my thing, right? There's nobody judging me but me. So everything's fine. So that's interesting. And then when other people come into play, suddenly I can start feeling like, okay, this person maybe thinks this of me and that of me and all that. We've talked about that in earlier videos as well. But so that confused me, and so I went to therapy to talk about that. And my therapist basically told me, from all the things you've said, because, you know, I share personal details about my life, and there's not necessarily anything that I wouldn't want to share, but we're talking about, like, specifically where I work and what happens there and all that stuff. Which is just an example, but I don't think the important part is in that bit of the details. But basically what she said is, it seems as if you're looking at the world, and you're looking at the things around you and the things you want to achieve, and you say, okay, it's not good enough, and I need to be better at it, and I need to improve. And it causes you to run into problems because you're not taking the situation as it is, but instead you're looking at it as it should be. And if you look at it as it should be, you're not going to be very happy, because it's not the facts, right? It's something you have in your mind. It's an opinion on how something should be. And what she told me is basically two things. She said you should lower your expectations, which means that, for example, with YouTube, right? YouTube is a nice example. I can expect to have, like, a big channel or whatever my goal is, something in the future. First of all, I have to accept where I'm at, and so I have to accept that I'm not a big channel. I'm just a small channel that not a lot of people watch, right? Which is I ultimately want it to be a big channel, right? I want to grow on YouTube, but I have to focus on the fact that it's still small. And so it has to do with lowering expectations. But secondly, it also has to do with acceptance. And acceptance can be difficult, because in the example of YouTube, it's just, all right, well, it is what it is. I'm not happy with it, and I have to accept that. And then you feel unsatisfied. And unsatisfied is definitely an uncomfortable feeling, but it's a better feeling to accept than, for example, if you don't feel enough love, or if you feel lonely. And those are feelings that I noticed I dealt with as well. And the moment you have to accept that, it means that you can't... Look, for example, if you feel lonely, you grab your phone, right? You distract yourself. If you feel like you're not very loved, you'll tell yourself, okay, well, I'll get it in the future, or something like that. But the real thing you've got to do is work on it. Work on that feeling. Accept it. And for me, that became kind of heavy, because when you start talking about, like, not feeling loved enough or whatever, that can turn a bit into grief, because you're basically grieving the fact that you're that thing that you're expecting, that love, that warmth that you're hoping for, it's kind of not there. And if it's not there, you're gonna feel really sad. So I did feel sad for a couple days. I really did. I cried over it as well. And then after that, after I went through that, I felt better. And I started to accept and to realize the fact that I am loved by a lot of people. And also by it was just an idea that I held that was not necessarily true. But because I ignored that for so long, I didn't focus on it, I looked away, it grew, right? And it's really fascinating how your mind does that. And I think eventually, if you deal with these kind of feelings for long enough, it can start putting pressure on you. Especially in Corona times, I started noticing the pressure build up, because you're trying to hide certain feelings, and on top of that, there's a lot of restrictions, so there's more pressure on you. And I was like, all right, well, this is the tipping point. This is where I have to go and talk about this, because it's putting too much pressure on me. Right now, I feel a lot better. I'm very, very happy that I did this. And overall, it didn't necessarily feel like I went to like a psychoanalyst and they told me, oh, you have this structure in your mind and blah, 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 and all these heavy terms. No, not really. It just felt like I went to like a general health organization that sent someone in to just talk to me about my life, and they gave me some advice. That's really what it felt like. It felt like you're like, for example, when you go to school and you have to choose like a new university, you can talk to like a counselor from school and they will give you some advice. That's what I did, but basically with my emotions. So they advised me like, okay, well, if I were you, I would look at this and I would change this and that. So that's what therapy can be like too. And in my mind, it was always, if I show up there and I just tell them, you know, I feel kind of insecure sometimes, I was expecting them to say, doesn't everyone, right? Doesn't everyone feel that sometimes? But that's not very validating. And I noticed that I used to talk about these things a lot with my friends. I still do. I talk about these things a lot with my friends. I talk about it with you. I like talking about it. It's interesting. As well as other people's problems in general. I like discussing it because I feel like, on their terms, obviously, I don't want to like force it out. I think you should never do that. But what I feel like for me is that talking about things generates other people's opinions. You talk about it with your friends, they show their perspective, and sometimes there is a piece of gold in those perspectives. I remember so many advices from my friends that really changed my perspective on things. And in this specific case of your emotional well-being and generally all that, therapy can really give you an educated change of perspective. Because usually what I feel like, and this is an assumption on my part, so I don't know if it's true, but, and it's also not always true, so what I'm about to say, but I feel like in most cases, if your mental health is generally healthy, then most of your problems can be changed with a combination of changing your perspective and working on the problem. Now, this is totally different when you're depressed, right? For example, or you're bipolar or whatever, you actually have like a mental illness. So I'm not disregarding that. I just want you guys to know that. I'm just saying, if you feel like there's something slightly, how to describe that? There's something not feeling right. You feel like something's off. You feel like I've been doing this for years now. I've been looking at things for years, and I still feel this loneliness, or I still feel this frustration. I still feel this anger. Those are common. I think anger, frustration, loneliness are really common themes, and they might even come out stronger in the pandemic. If you feel like you've got those things going on, really recommend, if you don't do it already, talk about it with your friends. That helps a lot. Just text someone and be like, hey, I've been feeling this way. What do you think? Right? And oftentimes you may find that what I felt like a few years ago when I first did something like that is that you feel like you're bothering people. But what I've started to notice is that the more you do it, the more people will eventually come to you with the same things. Because they know that if you're willing to send that to them, you're not going to judge them when they send it to you. So it creates this connection with other people where you're actually free to talk about who you really are and what you really feel inside. And I think that that's crucial in this time of people feeling more lonely, people feeling more disconnected. The fact that we connect with each other and give each other the opportunity to help each other. What you're basically doing when you're reaching out to someone else is you're actually giving someone else the opportunity to help you. I've had this happen with a friend of mine as well. She was feeling down and she talked about it with me, and then at the end I felt grateful because she let me know what was up with her, and it made me feel good to just be there and help out, right? Helping someone else out is actually a good thing. Reaching out is a good thing. Those were the things I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to let you guys know. And I also want to let you guys know that I'm actually doing pretty good. I'm okay. I'm doing fine. I know that these may be considered heavy topics to talk about. And I don't want to make you guys worry about me. So genuinely, I'm doing pretty good. Better than before the therapy, so that's dope. And yeah, I just wanted to share this with you guys. I see a lot of people around me that have these feelings and don't really know what to do, and I also see a lot of people that think it's a really big step to go to therapy. So I figured it might help if I share my story, and instead of sharing like a very big, traumatic, heavy story, just share an example of what it can be like if you feel like your problem's not big enough. Because in a sense, that's also something that really is going to help you. Because if your problem doesn't feel like it's very big, then it's... I don't know if I can say that. Maybe it would be easy to handle as well, and that's why you should go. But I don't want to disregard anyone's problems as well. It's I think the bottom line with all these doubts I have about discussing it is that it is a sensitive topic, and I don't want anyone to not feel validated with that. So that's why I doubt what I say a lot regarding therapy and all that. Anyway, this was my ramblings for the day. I hope you enjoyed listening to my ramblings. Share your experience down below if you wanna, if you feel like it. More Let's Plays and everything coming up soon, as well as a live stream that I'm doing today. So if you're seeing this video right now, I'm going to be live pretty much the whole weekend. Check my stream schedule. It's in Discord and it's on Twitter. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.